Alternative energy has become the hot investment theme on Wall Street, but is its popularity and meteoric rise a sign the sector is bubbling like tech in the late 90s? Eric Jansen is an entrepreneur and venture capitalist, along with being the founder and president of iTulip.com. And Jack Robinson is portfolio manager of the Winslow Green Growth Fund. Eric, let's start with you. Your name, just aside, the tulip bubble reference, you actually don't think that alternative energy is a bubble?
Well, not yet, and maybe it doesn't turn into one, but I think it's going to be a big growth area for the next 5 or 10 years.
Next 5 or 10 years, a big growth area. Roger, tell us that you disagree, because it's always more interesting for television if you disagree.
You're referring to me, Jack.
Oh, sorry, Jack.
That's all right. You're Dennis, right?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It is very different this time from the internet bubble, and I like to use the 80-20% rule whenever I can. I think 80% of the internet was bubble and 20% real, i.e. Google. This time it's just the reverse. It's the 20-80. There are a few frauds. There are a few bubbles in the clean, green, or renewable energy space, whatever you want to call it. But this one is driven by necessity. The internet, a lot of that was really driven by greed. So the circumstances are very different. I hope we get a chance to talk about a few of those.
Hey, Eric, actually greed is always the driver in almost everything the markets do. Do you have a particular favorite alternative energy play or a least favorite alternative energy play?
Well, I think one area of disagreement we might have is in how we arrive at this alternative energy boom. I think first our economy is going to go through some pretty difficult times, and that one of the ways we're going to get out of it is through large projects that are funded by government and private industry, and this creates a platform for these private investments.
Okay. Jack, one thing that bothers me is the role of government. Would there be any alternative energy play at all if government were there subsidizing it to bring the alternative energy costs down to the level of oil?
Yeah, Dennis, there already is. When you think of the low-cost renewable energy plays today that also produce a low amount of carbon, several of those are already economic. Wind is economic in most parts of the world today. Yes, there is a tax credit that we need here in this country. But, you know, there's no reason why Boone Pickett wouldn't be out there pushing wind if he didn't think this was the future as well. So wind, solar, and a very, very big and important one is geothermal. That's not only deep geothermal, but shallow geothermal. I think that has great potential. We haven't even mentioned the efficiencies and demand-side management side of the equation. Let's face it, the electron you don't use is the greenest electron of all, and we have a long way to go in just building in efficiencies into the process.
Okay, the geothermal stuff, though, that's where you're using the temperature changes in the ocean. Do I have that right or something? And isn't that like decades away, geothermal, Jack?
No, it's here now. My God, it's in every state in the country for sure. Geothermal, and I'm referring in this case to shallow geothermal. If you go down 5 feet anywhere in the country, it's 55 degrees. Just think about it. When it's 90 degrees out and you can pre-cool your water down to 55, you can save a lot of fossil fuel in making that happen.
Right.
And the reverse is also true. If it's 0 or below or anything below 55, you just go in the opposite direction and use a condenser to jack it up from there.
Okay. Eric, go ahead and tell us where you would tell your mom right now she should put her money to reap the harvest of this alternative energy play. Give us a couple options.
Well, I think in the short term, honestly, I think the best place to be is in cash. But in longer term, once we get through this period of time, I don't know, maybe it's going to be 18 months, maybe a little longer, before this becomes a growth area again. The answer is that oil prices are rising, and they're going to probably stay that way. Anybody who made investments in alternative energy back in the 70s was beaten down by very, very low oil prices throughout the 80s and 90s. That's not going to happen again. A lot of what's going to support growth of alternative energy is going to be the market's reaction to high energy prices, and I think it'll be a healthy reaction.
Okay. All right, thank you, gentlemen. If alternative energy crashes, we're going to come looking for you. Michelle,
please
over
do,
to you.
Dennis.